From desert wells getting a use, to the super cool decorative pots, to desert temples finally, not clickbait, having a secret room, archaeology is pretty amazing. How you doing, everybody? It's me, Waddles. Today we'll be taking a complete, concise, comprehensive dive into archaeology, or at least how it is right now. You can think of this as sort of a bonus episode of the Everything series. I'll be back with another normal episode next week. Today we'll begin with this poll from the most brilliant people in the world, my Instagram followers. I have to say I agree. From digging mechanics to suspicious sand to, who knows, hopefully even more dig sites, everything that we'll be taking a look at in today's video is subject to change. I personally feel like archaeology is so early on in the development cycle. So since this is an honorary episode of the Everything series, there's one spot we begin, and that has gotta be Minecraft Live 2020. For a little bit of backstory of this brand new archaeology system, it used to look something like this. Archaeology was originally announced to be in 1.17, then it didn't make it into 1.17, then it didn't make it into 1.18, then it didn't make it into 1.19, and then it made it into 1.20. So in a way, this new archaeology system, it's got like 3 components that make it up, maybe 4. Component number 1 is going to be the brush. The brush is a brand new item that basically fuels this whole system. We're going to use the brush to brush away the brand new block called suspicious sand. When we brush away this block, if we're lucky, we'll get a pottery shard, and then we take those shards and craft them into a brand new, beautiful, decorative pot that kind of tells a story. It's pretty cool. So I guess the best spot to start when it comes to archaeology and sharding in general would be the brush. If you want to get into this stuff, you're going to need to craft yourself a brush. When it was first added in 23W07A, it was a string pickaxe. One snapshot later, they updated and improved the recipe to this. For the absolute basics of the brush item, this is what you're looking at. I mean, it's kind of a beautiful looking item. It's nice, it's clean. The brush, of course, being a tool item, it is used by the player. When you use the brush every single time, it will take 1 durability damage. In total, the brush has 64 durability. Worried about losing your brush? Well, don't worry. If you wanted to, you could take one brush that is used and another brush that is used and fuse them back together in the crafting table, just like you can with bows. Interestingly, adding copper to the brush or a stick or a feather, it will not repair the brush at all. As of right now, the only block that uses the brush in all of Minecraft is going to be this new suspicious sand block that we'll talk a little bit more about in a second. If you use the brush on any other block, including just plain old sand, nothing will happen. You'll get this smooth animation, but the block will never break. Now, 1 week ago, I was a poor, misinformed soul. I had done a little bit of digging into the archaeology system. I threw the brush inside of an enchantment table and then declared that there are no enchantments for the brush. I'm a liar. I'm so wrong. There are actually some brush enchantments. In survival Minecraft, there are 2 enchantments and 1 curse that you can put on this thing. You can put mending on a brush, you can put every level of unbreaking, and you can put the curse of vanishing on the brush if you wanted to. If you want to apply any of these enchantments to the brush, you're going to need to do that inside of an anvil. So the brush is currently crafted with copper, wooden, and feather. It has 64 durability and is only used to brush away this block. It's got 3 enchantments and, well, that's like basically it for the brush. Let's move on to that strange sus sand. Next up, the most suspicious block in all of Minecraft, suspicious sand. Suspicious sand is a brand new generational block that you'll be able to find generating in your world in specific spots in the 1.20 update. Texture-wise, as you can see here, suspicious sand is pretty similar to sand. If the point was to blend in, I understand the assignment. Kind of blends in pretty well. Just like its sibling sand and some other gravity-affected blocks, suspicious sand is definitely affected by gravity. Except this time, something a little bit different happens. Instead of just falling and landing on the ground, it'll fall and break, kind of like glass, which is interesting. That's gonna mean if you were to accidentally drop this stuff when excavating, all treasure and secrets are lost forever. So be careful. Take your time. When it comes to break times, it's pretty commonly known that sand is definitely insta-mineable. I've got haste 2, I've got an efficiency 5 shovel, and I can mine this stuff really, really quickly. What about suspicious sand? Is it as fast to mine as normal sand? Well, no. Even with haste 2, efficiency 5 on my shovel right here, this stuff will not be insta-mined. So at least there's that. And that walks us wonderfully into the point that if you break suspicious sand with anything other than a brush like this, you will get absolutely nothing. including if you break suspicious sand with a brush like that. It just goes away. Interestingly, the brush mines it really, really quick like that. In fact, I think it's just as fast as an efficiency 5 shovel. Okay then. Now, suspicious sand is suspicious for a reason. That reason being that there is something strange inside of the block. We'll talk about the things that you can find inside of suspicious sand when we talk about the structures though. As of right now on Minecraft Java, when you use a brush to brush suspicious sand away, you'll basically brush the suspicious away. You'll be left with sand and a loot item. On Minecraft Bedrock, it works slightly different. When you brush the sand away, the sand completely goes away. You still get the loot though. When you use a brush to interact with a block of suspicious sand, you will slowly reveal whatever is inside of it. There are 4 break stages. If you were to stop brushing this thing while the item was being revealed and give it a second, the item will actually sink back in. It's really cool. So, suspicious sand, combine it with the brush, you get an item inside of it. I think that's just about everything, which means it's time to move on to where you could actually find this block in survival. This is the part that I think is potentially subject to change, maybe even big time, but as of right now, in survival, there are 2 locations where this whole archaeology system takes place. You'll be able to find suspicious sand generating at the desert well in the middle down below, and in the secret room that is new inside of the desert pyramid. Before you just jump right into things, you're going to want to grab some excavation supplies though. Materials that are a great call to bring with you when excavating are of course going to be a brush so you can actually do it, and a shovel to remove the sand. A couple other potentially super useful things for you here, maybe some buckets to remove water, or sponges to remove water, and torches. Definitely torches to light things up. So first, let's talk about the desert well. When it comes to actually locating the desert well structure in Minecraft 1.20 and below, I've got no actual tips for you. Desert wells will generate randomly across the deserts inside of your world, so I guess look at a desert. Don't look in the birch forest. Nothing is there, and it's ugly. At first glance, when you move up to the desert well structure, it's gonna look like nothing changed, and this is what actually tricked me completely the first time. If you're looking to do a little bit of excavation at the desert well, instead of looking around this thing or even really beneath this thing, you need to look inside of it. The new suspicious sand block will generate at the bottom of the desert well. From my testing, every time I've found a well, the most amount of suspicious sand I found on one of these things is 3. I'm not too sure really if there could be more suspicious sand, but I would say that if you find more than 3 suspicious sand inside of one single well, you consider yourself lucky. So the first move is definitely going to be get rid of the water, whether that's with buckets or maybe with a sponge. Get rid of the water. Once you remove it, you'll actually see the blocks we're working with. I highly recommend when excavating, remove any suspicious sand first, then dig out the other sand after. Now once you've actually found a desert well and removed the water, with a brush it's all super straightforward. Look at the suspicious sand and use the brush. You'll slowly brush away the sand and reveal the actual loot. Now from all of my testing, it seems like the suspicious sand inside of the desert well, it's always on that first level. Desert well excavations. When it comes to potential loot that you can find, this is the worst loot out of the 2 excavation sites currently in the game. We've got 5 potential, guess you could call it remnants of the past, that you can find here. When excavating at the desert well, you could find the pottery shard that is called the arms up pottery shard with the arms up, You can find a brick, you can find a stick, you can find an emerald, or you can find a suspicious stew. Now, when it comes to the effect that the suspicious stew is always going to have, it's going to be one of these effects. On the bad side of things, we're looking at a little bit of blindness or a little bit of poison. A little bit less bad, you could also get weakness from the suspicious stew. The good ones are jump boost, night vision, or a tiny bit of saturation. And so that's basically it. For excavation at the desert well, that's essentially it. As we can see here, 3 different blocks again. It looks like I'm going to have a shard inside of that one. I'm going to have a shard inside of that one. And over here, I'm going to have an emerald. That reminds me. When it comes to the drop chances, percentages of these items, it is weighted towards the shard. You're going to have a 3 in 7 chance of getting a shard, and then a 1 in 7 chance of getting any of these other items. Once the suspicious sand block is generated, like loaded into the world, the loot inside of it is determined. So stopping brushing this sand, letting it go away, and then trying again, it will do absolutely nothing. It's going to be the same item every time. Look, no offense to the desert well, but if you want to do some excavation, the desert pyramid is really where it's at. I mean, first off, not only is it a proper structure with additional loot inside of this thing, but I mean, you got a secret room, and it's a little bit bigger. You'll find a more suspicious sand here, for sure. Little pro tip for this structure before we get into excavation. I highly recommend move into the structure, clear out the mobs, and place torches around. You want to brighten this thing up. Put it on the first floor, the second floor. I also highly recommend grabbing this loot first. If you actually care about the stuff down here, grab this before you do anything else. If you're lucky, there is a chance you'll find that brand new Dune armor shard item inside of one of those loot chests. Archaeology excavation room. Now, previously I was wrong. I got it all wrong. I checked a bunch of temples and I seem to always find it on the left side, but definitely, absolutely, the brand new secret room can be flipped and put on the other side of the back of the temple as well. To make things even more interesting, it seems like, from my experience, the sand patterns they can generate on the floor that kind of give the secret room away, they can generate slightly differently. Excavation at the desert pyramid structure is basically exactly the same as it is at the desert well structure, except a little bit bigger. Move into the structure with a shovel and start digging things away. Be careful not to remove a block that will cause suspicious sand to fall. When removing this room, it's a great idea to place some torches down, light it up a little bit so you can actually see what you're doing. I recommend removing the sand layer by layer. Start at the top of this thing, remove the first layer, and work downwards. By removing the sand layer by layer, you will be sure to not accidentally break any suspicious sand block that is in here. Now, when it comes to the loot inside of the desert temple, we've got completely different loot. We'd love to see it. We're going to be able to find different shards and actually much better loot, including emeralds and diamonds. It's pretty amazing. When it comes to actually excavating this structure, it doesn't take very much time at all. This is something that you can pull off in full, in like a matter of minutes. So let's see. Being careful here. Removing this layer by layer, kind of working into the secret room from the door right here. Let's see what we have. So far, I found 3 suspicious sand blocks. Give me a little bit more, I guess. Suspicious sand block number 4 over here is going to reveal my second diamond of the day. Oh, it's beautiful. I love this. This is such a fun and interesting thing. I do wish, though, that it was like a little bit more common. I'm hoping going forward they add a couple more excavation sites in the game, because once you excavate something, I mean, it's done. I would also love to see the whole desert pyramid excavation actually doubled up. Do we really think the ancients would have ruined the symmetry by putting one secret room? After all, I mean, the loot from this thing, I mean, it's good, but it's not like insanely overpowered or anything. Next up, we've got another shard. This is going to be the 5th block. Then in the 6th block here, we're going to have another shard. Oh, it's wonderful. Kind of already have that shard, though. At this point, we are now almost done revealing the entire secret room. We've got one more sand. That's going to mark 7 blocks of suspicious sand here, and we ended with a bang. Quite literally a bang. After removing this sand and maybe checking into the floor to see if there's a secret room, there's not. That's it. Once you have fully excavated the secret room, whether it's on the left or the right side, it's going to look a little bit something like this. You'll have a broken ceiling and a room down here. I wonder what it was for. Checking out the loot that I got from that single excavation site, here it is, front and center. We got a little bit of explosives, we got 3 shards, we've got an emerald, and we've got a diamond. The loot inside of the desert pyramid is weighted equally, meaning you'll have the same chance of finding this arrow shard as you will this diamond one, as you will the skull one, as you will the diamond, the emerald, the gunpowder, or the TNT. Of course, compared to the desert well, you see why this is so much better. There's no stake or suspicious stew, or heck, even a brick. But speaking of bricks and shards, that brings us to the final part of the archaeology puzzle today. Of course, you can find some decent loot inside of some of the archaeology sites, but the real puzzle of the archaeology system is pieced together inside of the crafting table. Grab a shard and some bricks, or shards and some bricks, put them together inside of a crafting table, and you get that brand new decorated pot item. Decorated pots are a great way to tell a story inside of your world, or just show off what you've done. The only use for the brand new shard item that you'll find when archaeologying is crafting those brand new pots. Now, this is where things start to kind of move away from archaeology, but essentially, long story short, this is a beautiful decorational item. You can put these shards anywhere on these pots, so the backside, the front side, the side doesn't matter. Or, if you wanted to, you don't even have to put any of these shards on a pot. You can make a plain pot with bricks. The front side of a decorative pot is going to be this bottom shard right here. By substituting a brick in for a shard on one side, you're essentially creating a blank face. In survival Minecraft, breaking a pot with your fist, it breaks like basically instantly. However, breaking it with any tool, it will actually crush the pot, and you'll get the crafting ingredients back. The same exact thing is going to go for the blank pots as well. If you smash it with a tool, you'll get the bricks. And so, archaeology, pots, excavation sites, and more. That's just about all there is to it right now. Because this is kind of like the Everything series, and like I like to do in the Everything series, a bonus fact. What happens, theoretically, if we use a brush on suspicious sand with Fortune 3? Well, nothing. Well, nothing. It's actually really disappointing, but logical. You would think that maybe Fortune 3 would duplicate the drops, but nope, it doesn't. Having any effects on you, even haste too, while you're brushing a block away, will not speed up the brushing speed. There is no way to speed it up. Anyways, Archaeology, your complete guide as of Minecraft 1.19.4, pre-release 1. If you could add Archaeology to one structure across the entire game, what structure would it be? Tell me all about it down in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. Smash like and subscribe for more. Next up, if you're excited for 1.20, I recommend the Chisel Bookshelf episode of the Everything series. Check it out. Goodbye, everyone. I'll see you tomorrow.